on this issue because it was quite a big one, an issue that was raised in Parliament. So we need to get to that and just start wrapping up our conversation. We've got about another 5 minutes. So, Cilliers, I'm just going to go straight into our conversation. Thanks so much for agreeing to stay with us here on the programme.
Sure.
All right. So let's get to the new district development model. Now, this was, I think it was developed by the Department of Cooperative, and it's really meant to fix the country's struggling municipalities. What is your view on how it's been managed to get to the stage of full implementation? Has it managed to improve performance? What are you seeing?
Well, let's just take a step back and look at the situation. I think what we're dealing with in local government in general in South Africa is the consequences of 20 years of policy failure. Cadre deployment and restrictive employment and recruitment practices have driven out many skilled professionals from municipalities, and it's broken down the professional ethic in many municipalities. And in others where it never existed, the opportunity to build that ethic was forfeited. So there's a skills crisis in local government. And whatever government does has to address that skills crisis. Now, since 2004, there's been 8 turnaround strategies for local government, starting with Project Consolidate and ending with Back to Basics 10 years later. And all of those programs have failed. Now, to us, it's not exactly clear what the district development model will do different and how it will be effective at dealing with the skills crisis. And so if you look at the pilot sites where the district model has been tested, OR Tambo and the Waterberg, those audit outcomes and services have not improved during the year and a half that the district model was piloted there. And there's also many questions that remain about how the district model will be funded and how it will work and what will be the implications for the powers of local councils.
So you had, in your written parliamentary question, you actually sent to Cooperative Minister Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma about the workings of this district development model. A municipality blueprint that was introduced not so long ago. And one of the questions you asked was how many civil engineers and civil engineering technicians have been made available to work with municipalities, and how will their presence improve service delivery? What was the answer to this, and what was the response? Were you satisfied with this?
So the answer was that since 2019, 50 civil engineers and 15 town planners have been sent to municipalities, not as part of the district model, but as part of the so-called Municipal Infrastructure Support Agencies program. The problem with that is that we've got 278 municipalities, so 50 people temporarily deployed to assist with upkeep of water and electricity and so forth is. And the reason I asked this question is 2006, now that's long ago, a 2006 study found that 1/3 of South African municipalities don't have a single civil engineer or civil engineering technician in their employ. 10 years later, the same study was conducted and the situation hadn't improved. So we ask ourselves, why do we have recurring crisis of water and electricity and financial management in many municipalities? Why are audit outcomes so bad and communities so angry? And I think part of the answer is because municipalities have lost skills and we aren't implementing real policies to make local government an attractive proposition for qualified professionals. And until government completely abandons any form of cadre deployment and relaxes in some instances demographic quotas, we aren't going to get the necessary people in order to build up those systems so that services can improve in communities.
I'm reading an article where it basically shows that the UN, in a way, is going to also come in and assist Cooperative to go into these struggling municipalities. So it's basically going to be the United Nations and Cooperative together in these municipalities, OR Tambo in the Eastern Cape, eThekwini in KwaZulu-Natal, and Waterberg in Limpopo, with a whole host of skilled workers, society experts coming to them to try and rectify and turn around the situation. What more do you know about this? This all in conjunction with this whole MISA campaign.
So it's great that the United Nations is helping us. Whenever somebody offers help, we have to, of course, accept it. The only question is, does government have the capacity to put this help to productive use? So as far as I understand from the minister's statement and questions that she's answered, the UN will provide $5 million in the pilot sites of the district model, which is OR Tambo, Waterberg, and the eThekwini Metro Durban. Now, $5 million, about 50 to 60, maybe 70 million rand, which is good. But if you look at the amount of irregular expenditure incurred in just one of these pilot sites in the past year, the OR Tambo district, it's almost double that. So that, Leanne, shows you that even though we can get piecemeal support from outsiders, which is welcome, if we don't have the ability to put that money to use to ensure that it's not siphoned off and that policies are properly followed, checks and balances are followed, money isn't wasted, then all of that makes no difference at all. In fact, it just creates another opportunity for looting. I'm not saying that this is necessarily true about the UN funding. We will look at it and we'll monitor it and see what difference it can make. But I don't think it will be a game changer, as the minister has suggested. More fundamental reforms are really needed to put support of this kind to productive use.
So, Liz, as I wrap with you, quite an important conversation is, of course, the local government elections that are scheduled to take place this year. The question we're asking our viewers is obviously on the back of calls from political party like the EFF wanting them to be postponed and rather be held in conjunction or synchronized with the general elections. How does the DA feel? I mean, particularly when you look at the state of municipalities and the service delivery, and that's what these local municipal elections are really all about. Do you think there should be a delay, or would you like to see them go ahead?
Well, delaying an election is a very serious constitutional issue. And very often in a young democracy such as ours, constitutions are broken and the process starts by postponing elections, skipping elections. So it's not a simple matter of saying, let's hold this at a different time. Legislatively and constitutionally, South Africa is required to have a local government election between August and November of this year. And no serious case has been made about why that should be postponed. I think the IEC has given us sufficient assurance that measures can be taken to hold that election. We haven't heard anything contrary from the Cooperative Minister or the Municipal Demarcation Board. And so the DA is in favor of pushing ahead with and making sure that we put the arrangements in place. I think the South African people deserve an opportunity to say who should govern their communities, and crucial changes need to be put in place. If we don't do it now, services might deteriorate. So in the interest of democracy and better services across the country, let's go ahead, let's hold these elections. We can do it safely if we have proper planning and proper systems in place.
Cilliers, thank you very, very much for your time. Wide-ranging issues discussed here this morning. We appreciate you extending it as well for us. Cilliers Brink, DA, MP and Shadow Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, talking to us on not only the performance of Western Cape municipalities, but also policies in place to try and rectify most of the municipalities in South Africa and that particular district development model. All right, let us get you a quick weather.